Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Profitable Mindset Podcast.
Welcome to the Profitable Mindset, a show dedicated to teaching you the skills you need to build a profitable product-based business that makes you feel free and fully in control. Here is your host, Charlotte Smith.
Hey there, welcome to episode number 45, all about how to hire and manage employees. This may be one of the most powerful episodes I could ever offer you. It's all the incredible lessons I've learned in my 11 years of hiring people, placing ads, interviewing people, and then managing people, what to avoid, what I did wrong, what I did right. So, of course, you get to learn from my very hard-learned lessons and expensive mistakes. What happens is hiring someone correctly can help you get to profit with ease. And on the converse, hiring wrong can be a nightmare and cost you money. So today is going to help to get you started off on the right foot. Because if you want to scale, you've got to have help. If you're just a one-person operation, you are limited in your ability to be profitable. All right, now, because this is so powerful, listen to it, but I want you guys to share this. I don't care if you're on Instagram, Facebook, email it, but if maybe you are working for a farming organization that supports farmers, please share this with them. This is such powerful information. Most farmers are really stressed out, overworked, burning the candle at both ends. They need help, but they think thoughts like, I can't afford to hire help. And, they want to pay someone $10 an hour to do the work. This episode is going to help you. So share it around, listen to it. Let me know how you like it. I've been loving the emails and messages I've been getting on you guys from you guys who are listening to this summer business series. Started with episode 37. We're on episode 45. There's a few more to go. It's everything you need to know to build your profitable farm. I can help you get there. So I have broken this episode down into hiring and managing employees, two different skill sets. I'm going to start with hiring. First up, you got to create a job description. Now, in episode 43, I teach you how to start creating that job description where you get clear on all the activities, the functions that you will be asking someone to do. You got to do that to do it right. So that job description needs to include all the functions of the position, not what you want them to be like I want a cheerful, happy, motivated person, but you got to talk to them about what's going to happen in the job. Are they moving irrigation pipe? Are they building fence, digging post holes, deadheading flowers, weeding beds, bending over in the dirt all day? Are they packing boxes, carrying heavy packages of meat? Are they milking cows and they might be showered with manure by the end of the day? Put this all in the ad. You want people to know this up front. Are they sanitizing equipment? Are they helping you build shelters or barns or anything? You want to make sure all this goes in the ad. So think of all the things that have to happen in the job. The function of the position. What are the day-to-day expectations? What are the results you expect them to create each day? And remember what you learned in the last episode. When you think of your people, specifically your employees, as your assets, it'll teach you to think in terms of what this position will produce to justify the expense. That's what your job description is. So make sure you brainstorm to clarify your job description. And now, this activity specifically, what will help those of you who think you can't afford to hire someone is when you write your job description in this way with what they will produce to justify the cost, you'll see it's a no-brainer to hire. And you'll never say, I can't afford to hire again, because saying that will always keep you small and stuck and not hiring. If you say, I can't afford to hire, it will never create the motivation to hire someone. For instance, say you hire someone to milk cows. Then when you figure out the results of what they're doing in a day And maybe they're responsible for producing 20 gallons of milk a day and you sell it for $20 a gallon. That's $400 a day they're producing. You can't afford not to hire because you need to be out building those relationships to procure the people who are going to buy the milk and maintain a loyal customer base. That's your job. You can't afford not to hire someone for, maybe it costs you $100 a day, $125, $150 a day to hire them to produce $400 worth of milk. It's a no-brainer. Or maybe you're a flower farmer hiring manual labor, or a vegetable farmer. Doesn't matter. Take my examples here and adapt these scenarios to your context. Okay? You can adapt all this info that I talk about on these podcasts to whatever your business is. Now, you're probably going to recognize early on that you're not charging the true cost of your products. Most farmers aren't before they meet me, and then they realize, hey, we can increase our prices. And then they learn how to create confidence to be able to do so too. So you're probably going to realize you need to increase your pricing to do this, which means you got to work on your mindset to increase your pricing. That's what I'm here for. Many people can't just change their mind and increase their prices. Bring that to a coaching call. If you recognize you need to raise your prices, but you're stuck not doing it, come to a coaching call with me. Let me help you. Remember, you decide your pricing. That's another episode. There is no what the market will bear. That's a phrase I hear way too many of you using against yourselves to not increase your prices, and that is not a fact. I have so much evidence of years of working with my clients, hundreds and hundreds over the years, that the market will pay any price you need to charge when you do the work of communicating the value. And that is a skill you learn in my marketing course or in coaching with me. It is a learned skill. You're probably not going to create it on your own. So it's a learned skill to create a customer base that will pay the true value of your products, which is not what most of you are charging. Most of you have not considered all the things that go into the true cost of your production. And this business series is making you more aware of that. So be sure you're listening to all these episodes. So back to when you lay out the idea of what your employee is going to produce in terms of results. If they are doing work that produces $400 a day or $1,000 a day or thousands of dollars a day, then it's a no-brainer. You've got to hire someone. And know that when you think this way, you're training your brain to see employees as assets that create money for you with the job they do. They are not liabilities. They are not just a business expense. They are there creating money for you. You can pay them $100 and they make $400. They create $400 worth of product for you, or even more. The second thing you're going to do after you have your very clear job description is you're going to create a post requesting applicants. Now, for some of you, this could be an email to your customer list to see if they know someone who'd be interested in this position. Now, I caution you against just hiring customers. You got to do the work to make sure it's serving your business. But I have many customers who know people looking for farm labor. This is always my first step because often somebody on my email list knows a friend or a neighbor or a colleague who needs a job and always wanted to work on a farm. Okay, part of it is because we live rurally, but it could be in an urban area too. Or maybe there's a newlywed couple and they want to work on the farm. Okay, my customer list has given me so many valuable resources like referrals for employees. So also, make sure that your email or your job posting sells the position, sells the company, and sells working for you. You got to sell what it's like to be working for you. This is a sales letter. All right? You are trying to attract the best candidates. And the way you write this posting will make or break that. Now, if you've purchased my program, Sales Made Simple, you have my exact job description that I use to advertise on Craigslist. So pull that up again, refresh your memory, and see how I describe what it's like to work for me. Then, after I email my customer list about the job posting, after I emailed, maybe my colleagues I work with that are also in the business, my next step is always Craigslist. Over the years, I have tried so many organizations that do farm listings that are trying to match up people who want to work on a farm to farmers who are looking to hire. I can tell you this, I've never gotten a response from any of them, and I've paid for some of them. Some are free. So just be aware of that. Hopefully, they're improving their marketing so they can attract more better qualified candidates. But you might find also that your best bet is to jump on Craigslist. Everyone who has not come from my network has come from Craigslist. So now, 2 things really important you got to put in your ad. You guys, you got to put it in your ad that you do a background check, and then you have to actually do the background check. When I started out 11 years ago, it didn't really occur to me. I don't think I know anyone with a criminal past that I'm aware of, so I just didn't think about it. Maybe you hadn't thought of that either. Here's what I want to tell you. People who have criminal pasts look specifically for ads to apply to that do not say you do a background check. Again, I learned it the hard way. That is a story for another day. Yes, people who have criminal pasts can absolutely decide to change and grow and make better decisions and be rehabbed. But my family farm with my kids running around and my customers' kids running around and cash all over the place is not set up with the resources to rehab people with a criminal past. Now, there are plenty of programs out there that are set up with those resources to offer jobs to people with a criminal past, even farm programs. That is their area of expertise. Most likely, you're not set up to do that either. So to avoid that, be sure to put in your ad that you do a background check and then do the background check. Just Google how to do it. When I learned the hard way that I needed to be putting that in the ad that I do a background check, it reduced my applications immediately by 50%. So it just showed me the amount of people who are willing to work for the low pay that you're probably offering because they can't get a job elsewhere. So know that your ad can attract those types of people just because of your pay range. Be aware of that. And also, paying higher wages will attract more higher quality employees too. Again, I'm always straight with you guys and I'm direct. And I just want to tell you that's a hard lesson I learned. So do background checks and put it right in your ad. You're going to save a lot of time sorting through resumes and applications when you do that. That way, nothing slips in under the radar that you find out about later. Another thing I do is I always advertise right in the ad that they will need to supply me with 3 references who will attest to their reliability and their capability of the work I'm asking for. This is a farm. We're busy 365 days a year. I can't have people who are used to taking a lot of sick time for various things like, oh, I got to go to the doctor, or I'm going to take a half day off and get a haircut. I'm going to take a sick day to do that. So I want to speak to these people's references to find out that this is a person who shows up for work on work days and has their personal appointments outside of work hours. Then you got to do the hard work of actually calling the references. I've had some really great conversations that have made me really excited to hire someone, even more excited than I first was, or made me rethink that decision. So you might meet someone and they really sell you on themselves during the interview because it's that good, and you're tempted to hire them without calling the references. Don't make that mistake. Call the references. If you had, you would have learned valuable information. Okay, number 3 is you then tell them how to apply to your job. My ad that I use on Craigslist has gotten me super high quality people, and it's for a lot of different reasons. including this one. Here's what I mean when I say tell people how to apply. I ask them to hit reply or respond to this ad telling me, what is your experience that qualifies you to do this work? In a few paragraphs, tell me, why do you think you would be the perfect person for this job? Tell them to reply to the job ad with a couple of paragraphs giving you that information. You also want to state in the ad, and remember, this information I'm giving you is not fluff. If you want to create a really great hiring situation and have loyal employees, you want to do the things I'm talking about in here. So you might have to do some mindset work to be able to do them. But you also want to state in the ad, do not reply to this ad with only a resume. Otherwise, you'll get a ton of responses where all the person has done is attached a resume. No letter, no idea of if they qualify or not, because people are not taking the time to read the ad. They're just sending resumes to every new position without paying attention. There are a lot of people like that on Craigslist too. So you'll get a ton of replies that have a resume and nothing else, okay? Don't even read those emails. Those are people who are desperate for any sort of job. They are not qualified to work for you. They didn't listen, they didn't read, they didn't pay attention to detail, they didn't even take the time to read the ad. They're just jumping on Craigslist and submitting their resume for every single job that shows up that day. So tell them what they have to do. And like I said, if they reply with an attached resume, I delete that response. You do not have the time to deal with people who just won't take the time to listen to what you request, okay? They're just looking for a paycheck. They will not like farm work in trade for a paycheck. And again, I've got vast experience on this. It's really going to help you weed out the people who are not ideal candidates. Okay, so know these three things. Number one, telling them how you want to apply to the job. I guess that was number 3. Also, tell them you do a background check. And tell them they must have 3 references willing to attest to their capability of doing the job and being consistently on time. 4th step now is, let's get to the interview. You're going to ask them a lot of questions. Why do they want to work for you? What is their big picture? What's their life vision? Why do they want to work on a farm? Is it a stepping stone? Or what? Find this out. Have a conversation with them. Do they just need a job? Or do they want to start their own farm? How long do they foresee working a job like this? Is it a summer job, then they're back to school? Or are they looking for long-term employment? Is it long-term part-time, long-term full-time? Have all these discussions. I always wanted long-term employment on my farm, so I was super careful and intentional in my interviewing, and I put this in the ad too, because I wanted long-term. And that's because we have a pretty in-depth training period. I didn't want to hire and train someone and then have them leave in a few months because I would have lost a lot of money. So I asked all kinds of questions to make sure I was making an informed decision. In the interview, make sure they understand that it's a dirty job or it's a hot job, if it is. If they are farm labor and they're not working in the air-conditioned store, you got to explain that. You know, you're going to be out moving irrigation pipe when it's 85 or 95 degrees. You're going to be carrying things, cutting down, weed whacking along the fence line when it's 85 or 95 degrees. Or on the opposite end of the spectrum, cows have to be milked when it's 20 degrees out. Or maybe they are helping you with meat and they're in a walk-in freezer for hours, packing and pricing meat. Make sure if that's part of the job, they know this and talk about this. They might be, on our farm, they were usually covered in manure by the end of their shift, or it might be smeared across their face. I tell people this in the interview. Okay. Also, do they understand that farm animals and plants do not take holidays off? Do they recognize they don't get Labor Day off just because it's a bank holiday or Memorial Day off or Thanksgiving or Christmas? Make sure they understand that. Or maybe it's seasonal. Maybe you have 10 hours of work for them a day in the summer if they want, and 4 hours a day of work for them in the winter. If that's the case, explain this in your ad, but cover it in the interview too. Make sure it's really clear. Some people are so excited at the prospect of a paycheck that they agree to everything. So you want to take your time, speak slowly and clearly, and make sure you've explained all these things. Do they understand the job might be different every single day if this is the case? Or do they understand they're doing the exact same thing every single day? Talk to them about all this. You're going to get a really good idea of who they are and what they're looking for. And if they say something like, well, I'm just passing through, I'm going back to college in the fall, I need a job to save up money for then. Well, on my farm, I don't hire short-term employees like that, but you might. You might be able to because of what you raise. And you have a short season and you just need some manual labor for 2 or 3 months or an extra hands for 4 to 6 weeks. Again, we have a longer training process. I don't do that. You decide what works for you and then make that clear and make sure you discuss it. So after the interview, make your careful decision after you call the references of your top 3 people. And then you want to make sure you have a trial period. Again, I learned this the hard way. So I always have a 30-day trial period, and that's a trial for both of us where they've filled out all the paperwork, they're coming to work for me, but we have an agreement that within the next 30 days, either one of us can walk away with no questions asked. They can say, hey, it's not for me. Or I can say, hey, this isn't working out. Thank you for your time. I so appreciate your hard work. Here's your paycheck. And of course, that 30 days, it's paid. You know, you're paying them as if they're a long-term employee. But there's no pressure when you make this agreement that either of you can walk away. There's no pressure on their side that, oh, shoot, I committed to this place for a year. I hate the job, but I have to stick it out for a year. There's no pressure there. And there's no guilt on your part that, oh, no, I hired them and now I have to stick it out for the year that I talked to them about, even though I don't like them or whatever. So just say that. We're going to work together and either of us can walk away. And it might be something like their personality is something that doesn't fit with the rest of your team. Or maybe you don't like the way they treat the animals and you couldn't see that the first couple weeks because they held it together with willpower. But in the 30-day period, they'll loosen up and you started learning things you can't tolerate. I hired a guy in the summer once in June. Luckily, I had this 30-day thing in place and he worked great the first 2 weeks. And then we had an 85-degree day and he called in sick. And I was like, whoa. I mean, if people are legitimately sick, I'm fine with that. So I thought it was legitimate. A couple days later, it's over 80 degrees. He's calling in sick. He called in sick 3 times. And it just was very apparent to me that when it gets over 80 degrees, he's very likely to call in sick. It just didn't work out. So we just parted ways. It was very obvious to both of us that this is not going to work out. Okay, now another thing I ask for that you don't have to, but this is what works for our farm, is I ask for the minimum 12-month commitment because I'm investing a lot of time and training into this person. So you might ask for a 12-month commitment with certain employees that are doing certain things that you have to train them for because you have a bigger investment in both time and money. But if they're working in my farm store, that's really easy. I don't need a 12-month commitment there. Now, I do always try to hire for people who will be here more than a few months, of course, because again, it is time and money, and I like to have a consistent team. But the learning curve is very short in the farm store. So if they just want a summer job and it's a perfect person and I can't find anyone else, I'm fine with a short-term commitment in certain positions. So I try to find employees that want to have a long-term relationship with us in mind. It's just more sustainable for our farm in so many ways. So this was a ton of info on hiring. I'm very aware of that. You may want to go back and take notes and write the things down that I outlined here because there's a lot to it. So you learned first how to create a job description, and then a job posting, and then how to hire. And of course, those crucial things you want to make sure you put in the ad so you avoid attracting the wrong type of person. And good luck with this, you guys. I know it's going to help you in that learning curve. There's still going to be a learning curve for hiring for you, but this definitely will help. If you need help with your mindset through all of this, of course, you can set up a free strategy session to decide to invest in coaching. That is at 3calmarketing.com/strategy. The session is free. Coaching is paid, but that's going to help you decide if my program will work for you. So maybe I'll see you there. And then next week, we're going to continue on with how to manage your employees once you've found that rock star employee. All right, I'll talk to you then.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. For more great resources, check out theprofitablemindset.com. See you next time.